Have you ever felt like life keeps pulling your attention in 1,000 directions? Notifications, responsibilities, people demanding your time until you forget what you were even trying to do? That's the noise of the modern world. And in that chaos, there's one simple, powerful command that can bring you back to yourself. Focus on you until you win. At first, that phrase sounds bold, almost selfish. But if you listen closely, you'll realize it's not arrogance, it's commitment. A quiet declaration that says, I am responsible for my own growth. I am committed to becoming better, regardless of what the world does. That's where your transformation begins, not when others believe in you, but when you finally decide to believe in yourself. At Stoic Diary, this isn't just a slogan, it's a way of life. Every word you hear here is an invitation to pause, because here's the truth. The ancient Stoics knew thousands of years ago. You cannot control what happens around you. You can only control what happens within you. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth, yet he wrote daily reminders to himself not about conquering others, but about conquering his own thoughts. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he became one of the greatest philosophers in history, teaching that freedom begins in the mind, not in circumstance. Seneca advised emperors, yet constantly reminded them that wealth and fame mean nothing if the soul is restless. So when I say focus on you until you win, it's not about chasing applause, success, or validation. It's about building your inner fortress, that steady part of you that doesn't crumble when the world shakes. It's a vow to rise above distraction, to train your mind like a muscle, and to turn inward when the outside world becomes too loud. Throughout this journey, we'll walk the Stoic path together. First, we'll redefine what winning really means, not in the eyes of society, but in the eyes of your soul. Then we'll face the obstacles, the noise, the fear, the doubt that constantly threaten your focus. After that, we'll uncover the timeless Stoic principles that help you stay centered, patient, and strong, no matter what life throws at you. And finally, we'll talk about the mindset, the way of seeing and being that keeps you moving forward long after motivation fades. But before we begin, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, ask yourself, am I truly focused on my growth, or have I been distracted by everything I can't control? That question alone can change the direction of your life. Because the Stoic life isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. It's about returning again and again to what truly matters. Every time you refocus, every time you choose discipline over distraction, you win a small, invisible battle. And over time, those invisible victories build the strongest kind of power, silent, steady. So, if you're ready, let's begin this journey together. Comment below, I am committed to my inner growth. Let those words echo not just on your screen, but in your actions, your habits, and your choices. Because once you learn to focus on you, not out of ego, but out of purpose, that's when you truly start to win. What does it really mean to win? Most people today would say it's about money, recognition, success, or maybe having a life that looks perfect from the outside. But the Stoics saw victory through a very different lens. For them, winning was never about what you owned. It was about what owned you. Because if your peace depends on what you can lose, was it ever really peace to begin with? To the Stoic mind, true victory is internal mastery, the ability to rule your emotions instead of being ruled by them. It's not the loud kind of winning that makes headlines. It's the quiet one that happens in the stillness of your mind when you choose clarity over chaos, patience over panic, and reason over reaction. Think about it. Anyone can appear strong when life goes according to plan. But how do you respond when it doesn't? When the deal falls through, when the relationship ends? That's when you find out whether you've truly won. Because the battlefield isn't out there. It's in here, inside you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Those words were written by a man who led an empire, faced wars, betrayal, and plague. Yet he understood that the hardest fight was not against his enemies, but against his own impulses. Winning, in the Stoic sense, means becoming the kind of person who can stay grounded no matter what storm hits. It's mastery of self, the discipline to hold your tongue when anger tempts you, the wisdom to pause before reacting, and the strength to remain calm when everything around you is falling apart. That's not weakness, that's power, because the person who cannot be shaken cannot be controlled. You see, most of us chase victories built on sand wealth, approval, attention, but all of that shifts with time. The Stoic builds differently. They build on bedrock, on character, integrity, and discipline. Those are the things no one can give you and no one can take away. So ask yourself, when life tests you, do you crumble or do you hold your ground? Do you lose yourself in reaction or do you respond with intention? These moments invisible to the world are where real winning happens. It's not glamorous. It doesn't go viral, but it lasts. Epictetus, who was once a slave, said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." He didn't have wealth or luxury, but he had what most of us are still chasing: peace. That's the paradox of Stoic victory. You win not by conquering others, but by conquering your inner chaos. You win when you stop letting the world dictate how you feel. You win when you can walk through adversity and remain untouched by its noise. So maybe the next time something doesn't go your way, when plans collapse or people disappoint you, don't see it as a loss, see it as training. Each challenge is a chance to prove your strength, to reinforce the foundation you're building brick by brick inside yourself. Because at the end of the day, success that depends on circumstance will always fade. But the success built within through clarity, resilience, and integrity will endure as long as you do. That's what it means to win, the Stoic way. Not with applause, not with trophies, but with unshakable peace, the kind that no one can take from you. Have you ever noticed how hard it's become to focus? You sit down to work, to read, to think, and within minutes, your mind drifts. A notification pops up. Someone calls your name. A headline flashes across your screen. Suddenly, an hour is gone, and you've achieved nothing. We like to think we've lost focus because life got busier. But the truth is deeper. We haven't just lost focus, we've surrendered it. Our attention has become the most valuable currency in the world. Social media, news, entertainment, they all compete for it. Each one designed to make you forget what truly matters. And little by little, they fragment your mind, leaving you restless, reactive, and unfocused. But the Stoics would tell you, none of these things are your real enemies. The real battle isn't outside, it's within. Epictetus once said, "We are disturbed not by things, but by the views we take of them." It's not the noise itself that breaks your peace, it's your reaction to it. You can't stop the world from shouting, but you can train yourself not to flinch every time it does. Let's be honest. Our biggest distractions often come disguised as urgent. We scroll because we fear missing out. We check our phones because we crave reassurance. We say yes to others because we're afraid to disappoint them. But every time we do, we trade a piece of our purpose for a moment of relief. The Stoic Path demands something tougher: discipline of perception. To pause when the impulse strikes, to breathe before reacting, to ask, does this serve my purpose or steal from it? That's the moment where you begin to reclaim your focus, not through grand declarations, but through small, conscious refusals. When you stop checking your phone every few minutes, when you choose to sit with silence instead of filling it, when you say no to what doesn't align with your goals, that's you training your inner muscle of resolve. Focus isn't a gift, it's a muscle. And like any muscle, it grows through resistance. Every distraction resisted is a repetition. Every temptation overcome is progress. And with each one, your mind becomes stronger, steadier, more your own. But it's not easy. The hardest distractions are not on your screen, they're in your head. That inner critic whispering, you're not good enough, that fear of failure that keeps you from starting, that quiet comparison that eats at your confidence. The Stoics faced these same battles. They didn't escape them, they trained through them. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily reminders to himself because even an emperor needed structure for his mind. So when self-doubt hits, don't fight it with more noise. Pause. Observe the thought. Ask yourself, is this true or just fear disguised as logic? Then return again and again to your chosen aim. That's what Stoic focus really is. Not perfect concentration, but constant return. You will get distracted. You will drift. Everyone does. But the Stoic doesn't quit when that happens. He notices, realigns, and continues calmly, patiently, persistently. Because focus isn't about isolation. It's about sovereignty, the ability to rule your own attention in a world that profits from stealing it. So the next time you feel scattered or overwhelmed, remember this: you don't have to control the noise. You only have to control your response. And when you can do that, when you can hold your mind steady while the world spins, that's when you'll know you've begun to master the art of Stoic focus. If you want to master focus, you can't rely on motivation. Motivation fades, but principles, they hold you steady when nothing else does. The Stoics lived by principles, not moods. And if you want to build the kind of focus that survives distraction, temptation, and self-doubt, there are 4 timeless truths you need to live by. Let's start with the first: clarity of purpose. You cannot stay focused if you don't know what you're aiming at. Most people drift because they've never defined what truly matters to them. They say yes to everything and end up moving nowhere. But the Stoic says no more often than yes because he knows where he's headed. Your purpose must be written, spoken, and repeated daily. Write it in your journal. Speak it when you wake up. Remind yourself when you're tired. That's how you turn a vague wish into a living compass. Every decision then becomes simple. Does this move me closer to my purpose or farther away? If it brings you closer, say yes with conviction. If it doesn't, have the courage to walk away. The second principle: small, consistent acts. We often think greatness comes from grand gestures, but the Stoics knew it comes from repetition. Seneca said, "Well-being is attained little by little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself." You don't transform your life overnight. You do it in small, disciplined steps that compound quietly over time. One honest decision, one act of discipline, one moment of restraint. Do it today, then again tomorrow. That's how focus becomes a habit, through daily practice, not daily intensity. The third principle: obstacles into opportunities. Life will test your focus, that's guaranteed. But every difficulty is also your training ground. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When something blocks your path, don't curse it, study it. Ask, what lesson is hidden here? What strength is this situation trying to build in me? Every obstacle gives you a choice. You can either become bitter or become better. And the Stoic always chooses the latter. So the next time frustration visits you, when people test your patience, when plans fall apart, when the road gets rough, remember, the challenge is not punishment, it's preparation. Your focus is being refined in the fire of resistance. And finally, the fourth principle: review and reflection. At the end of each day, pause. Sit quietly with your thoughts and ask, where did I live according to my values today? Where did I lose my focus? What can I do differently tomorrow? Marcus Aurelius did this every night. So did Seneca. They treated reflection like training for the soul, a daily reset to return to what truly matters. You can do the same. Write a short note in your journal, meditate for 5 minutes, or simply breathe in silence. What matters is that you reconnect not with the world, but with yourself. Because focus is not about controlling time, it's about controlling attention. And attention is strengthened through clarity, consistency, courage, and reflection. These 4 principles are not just theories, They are tools, the very ones the Stoics used to stay calm in chaos, determined through doubt, and grounded when everything else was falling apart. So, as you move forward in your own journey, remember, focus is not built in a single day. And each moment you live by these principles, you are sharpening the most powerful instrument you'll ever own, your mind. There's a mindset that separates those who begin strong from those who finish strong. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not even discipline alone. It's something quieter, but far more powerful. It's the Stoic mindset, the way of thinking that keeps you moving when motivation disappears. Because here's the truth, no matter how clear your goals are, how consistent your habits become, or how well you plan your days, there will come a point when everything feels heavy. You'll feel tired. You'll question yourself. You'll wonder if any of this effort is even worth it. That's the moment where mindset becomes everything. The Stoics taught that life isn't about escaping difficulty. It's about responding to it with reason, calm, and endurance. Marcus Aurelius didn't expect an easy road. Every morning he reminded himself, "Today I will meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." The animatted, yet he didn't despair. He prepared, because he knew the greatest freedom lies in being mentally ready for whatever life brings. That's the first key. Expectation, not surprise. When you expect challenge, you stop taking it personally. You stop saying, that shift turns pain into purpose. The second key, persistence over perfection. A Stoic doesn't demand flawlessness, only progress. You will fall short. You will lose focus. You will react impulsively sometimes. But the Stoic measure of success isn't, did I fall? It's, did I rise again? Every time you return to your principles, you strengthen your character. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you reclaim your power. The third key, detachment from outcome. In the modern world, we've been trained to chase results, likes, recognition, metrics, applause. But the Stoic doesn't work for attention. He works for alignment. He gives everything his time, his effort, his heart, but lets go of the need for control. Because control ends where effort ends. That's why the Stoic repeats, I control my actions, not their results. You focus on the process, not the prize. You master the effort, not the outcome. And ironically, that's what makes your results stronger, because your energy is pure, not poisoned by expectation. The fourth key, return to presence. When your mind spins into worry or regret, stop. Ask yourself, what can I do right now, in this moment, that's within my control? That single question brings you back to reality. Because the Stoic understands, peace isn't in the past or the future. It's right here, in the clarity of the present moment. The Stoic mindset isn't about coldness or detachment. It's about strength with serenity, being unshakable, but still human. You feel deeply, but you're not destroyed by your feelings. You face storms, but you don't become the storm. That's real power, the kind that doesn't shout, doesn't show off, but simply endures. So as you walk your own path, remember this. Your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to keep returning again and again to your focus, your purpose, your values. Because every return is a renewal, every challenge is a test, and every small act of persistence becomes proof that you are stronger than yesterday. When you carry this mindset, when you stop chasing ease and start choosing growth, you begin to notice something incredible. The chaos doesn't disappear. You change. The noise remains loud, but your mind becomes quiet. The world still demands your attention, but now you decide where it goes. That's the Stoic way forward. Not seeking comfort, but becoming capable. Not waiting for peace, but creating it within yourself. One thought, one action, one day at a time. Every day, the world tries to pull you away from yourself. Your phone lights up, your inbox fills, someone calls your name, and suddenly your attention is gone. You didn't give it away. It was stolen. piece by piece. In this age of noise, attention has become the rarest form of freedom, because whoever controls your attention controls your life. But the Stoics understood something most people still don't. True freedom isn't the absence of chaos, it's the ability to stay calm within it. The goal isn't to shut the world out, but to rule your own mind. That's what I call inner sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius ruled over millions, yet every night he reminded himself that the greatest empire he must govern was his own mind. He faced betrayal, war, and death, but he never surrendered his attention to bitterness or fear. He chose focus. He chose peace. He chose himself. And that's what you must do too. Guard your attention like a kingdom. Every thought that enters your mind is either a builder or a thief. Some thoughts build strength, clarity, and calm. Others steal energy, focus, and time. So ask yourself, who or what am I giving my attention to today? You see, attention is not infinite. Every hour spent scrolling, arguing, comparing, that's an hour you'll never get back. The Stoics measured wealth not in coins, but in time and integrity. So the real question is, where are you investing your inner currency? It's not about ignoring the world. It's about deciding what deserves your presence. Each time you refuse to gossip, you protect your peace. Each time you say no to mindless scrolling, you reclaim your focus. Each time you stop comparing your path to someone else's, you strengthen your sense of direction. These small refusals are not weakness, they are acts of power. Because every no to distraction is a louder yes to purpose. Think of your mind as a fortress. If you leave the gates wide open, anything can walk in fear, envy, negativity. But when you stand guard, when you filter what enters, you begin to experience something rare in the modern world: stillness. That stillness is not emptiness. It's energy saved. It's clarity sharpened. It's the foundation of every great life. But here's the paradox. When you start protecting your attention, people will misunderstand you. They'll call you distant. They'll say you've changed. And you will have, because you've stopped letting the world dictate your state of mind. You're no longer reacting to everything. You're responding to what truly matters. The Stoics would tell you this is not selfishness, it's self-respect. You can't pour into others from an empty mind. You can't help the world if you've lost yourself to it. So the next time the noise gets louder, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, does this deserve my attention? Does this align with my values? If the answer is no, walk away, not out of arrogance, but out of wisdom. Because attention is life. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, and your destiny follows. So make this your vow. Guard your attention as you would guard your peace. Let your focus be sacred. Let your energy serve what matters most. And when you live this way, when your attention belongs fully to you, you become something incredibly rare in this world. Unshakable, peaceful, free. There comes a point in every person's journey when the crowd fades away, when the noise dies down and you're left alone with your own thoughts. That moment, the quiet one most people fear, is where real growth begins. We live in a world terrified of silence. We fill every pause with sound, every gap with scrolling, every quiet evening with distractions. But here's the truth. You cannot heal in noise. You cannot know yourself when you are constantly running from yourself. The Stoics understood that solitude is not loneliness, it's clarity. It's the space where you stop pretending, stop performing, and start meeting the real you. When you finally sit alone without a screen, without validation, without an audience, what rises to the surface? Maybe it's regret, maybe fear, maybe questions you've ignored for years. And that's okay. That's where the work begins. Because you can't strengthen what you refuse to face. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet his most powerful conversations weren't with others. They were with himself, written in silence. He called it his meditations, but they were really his nightly confrontations with his own mind. Where did I act according to virtue today? Where did I fail? That's how a man stays honest with himself, even when the world is watching. You see, most people don't avoid solitude because it's empty. They avoid it because it's truthful. When you're alone, the mask slips, the excuses fade, the noise quiets, that you've been distracted. But here's the beauty. Solitude doesn't just reveal what's broken. It gives you the space to rebuild. In solitude, you rediscover your own voice. You learn that peace isn't found in constant company, but in inner alignment. You stop chasing validation and start earning self-respect. The Stoic knows that the road to strength is often lonely, not because others abandon you, but because few are willing to face themselves as deeply as you will. So if you find yourself walking alone, don't rush to fill the silence. Walk slower. Listen to what the silence is trying to teach you. Because that discomfort you feel at first, that uneasy quiet, is your old self fighting for control. It wants distraction. It wants noise. But the more you sit with it, the quieter it becomes. Until one day, it no longer frightens you. It steadies you. That's when solitude transforms into power. When you no longer fear being alone, the world loses its grip on you. No one can manipulate a mind that finds peace in its own company. And from that stillness, something beautiful begins to emerge: clarity. You start to see what truly matters. You realize how little you actually need. You begin to build not from ego, but from truth. So tonight, when everything around you goes quiet, don't rush to fill the silence. Sit with it. Breathe with it. Ask yourself, am I living according to what I claim to value? That question, asked in solitude, can change the entire direction of your life. Remember, solitude isn't isolation. It's preparation. It's the training ground of the soul, where you stop escaping and start becoming. So embrace it. Walk with it. Let it refine you until the noise of the world can no longer reach the calm you've built within. That's where strength begins. That's where the Stoic stands, alone, but never lonely. Silent, but unbreakably strong. No matter how strong you become, you will fall. You'll lose focus. You'll give in to emotion. You'll break a promise you made to yourself. And when that happens, the world will whisper, "See, you failed. It's Rahneman again." But the Stoic sees it differently. Because for the Stoic, failure isn't the end, it's the signal to return. Focus, like discipline, isn't something you achieve once and keep forever. It's a practice. You lose it. You find it. You lose it again. And each time you return, you come back sharper, steadier, stronger. That's what I call the rhythm of return. Seneca said, "No man becomes wise by chance. Wisdom is forged through the repetition of falling and rising." It's not the absence of failure that defines strength. It's the refusal to stay down. So when you slip, don't drown in shame. Don't let your inner critic call you weak. Instead, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, what pulled me off track? Then realign. Because every return to focus is an act of victory. The Stoics didn't aim to be flawless. They aimed to be faithful to their principles, even after breaking them. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, "When you are distracted, return to yourself, and once again, embrace what you know is good." Even an emperor needed reminders. So what makes us think we should be perfect? Here's the truth. Every day you're going to face storms. Irritation, ego, fear, fatigue. You'll react, regret, and replay it in your head. But the Stoic doesn't let those moments define the day. He sees them as practice. The return itself is the training. Think of it like sharpening a blade. Every slip, every setback, every moment of awareness that's friction refining you. You don't lose strength when you stumble. You build it by returning. Each comeback teaches you endurance. Each try again strengthens your trust in yourself. That's what separates the practitioner from the pretender, the ability to return without resentment. Most people quit not because they can't, but because they refuse to forgive themselves for failing. They turn one mistake into a permanent label. But the Stoic knows that the mind, like a muscle, grows through resistance, not avoidance. So instead of saying, "I failed," Say, instead of saying, I lost control, say, I'm learning where my limits are. That shift changes everything. Because when you see failure as feedback, you stop fearing it. When you treat mistakes as data, not drama, you transform frustration into focus. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly returned? Not halfway, not with guilt, but fully? That moment, that quiet decision to get up again, is where your power lies. The Stoic doesn't wait for the perfect mood to restart. He returns because it's his duty not to the world, but to his own soul. And over time, that habit of returning becomes identity. You stop saying, I try to stay focused, and start saying, I am focused. You stop chasing consistency and start becoming it. Remember this, focus is not linear, it's cyclical. You drift again and again until returning itself becomes second nature. So the next time you fall off track when you lose patience, skip your routine, or let fear take over, don't quit. Don't punish yourself, just return. Because that's where mastery lives, not in perfection, but in persistence. The Stoic doesn't need to win every battle. He just needs to keep showing up. Every return is a small triumph. Every return is a sharpening. Every return is proof that the fire within still burns. There's a kind of strength that doesn't roar. It doesn't argue. It doesn't prove. It doesn't need to be seen. It's quiet, calm, deliberate. That strength is called restraint. In a world that rewards noise, restraint looks weak. But the Stoic knows better. Because silence isn't the absence of power, it's the control of it. Think about the last time you wanted to react, to fire back at an insult, to prove your worth, to defend your ego. That burning impulse to respond, that's your test. And the moment you choose not to, when you hold your tongue, steady your breath, and let reason take the lead, that's when you discover what real power feels like. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. That's restraint, the ability to pause when everything in you screams to act. The modern world confuses reaction with strength. It tells you to clap back, to make your point, to never let anyone have the last word. But reaction is easy. Restraint takes mastery. Because anyone can shout. Only the wise can stay silent, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Silence is not surrender. It's strategy. When you stay calm while others lose control, you instantly gain clarity. You can see what they can't. You notice motives, patterns, and truth that emotion blinds them from. That's why the Stoic practices restraint, not to look strong, but to remain free. Every reaction gives someone else your power. Every moment you let anger or pride dictate your words. But when you pause, when you breathe and choose not to feed chaos, you reclaim ownership of yourself. It's not easy. Your ego will fight you. It will whisper, say something, prove your point. But the Stoic answers, I don't need to, because peace doesn't need an audience. There's a scene that plays out in everyone's life. Someone provokes you, spreads rumors, disrespects you, and your first instinct is to strike back. But if you step back instead, if you respond with patience, or better yet, with silence, you'll notice something powerful happens. Their energy collapses. Their chaos has nowhere to go. That's not weakness. That's wisdom in motion. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize your mind is complicit. The Stoic knows no one can disturb your peace unless you invite them in. So the next time someone tests your composure, not every battle deserves your sword. Some victories are won by not engaging. Restraint is a form of quiet dominance over yourself. And the more you practice it, the stronger you become. You start to see that silence speaks louder than any argument. It's a message that says, I am not controlled by impulse. I am not swayed by noise. I am rooted in calm. And that calm, it changes everything. Because when you stop reacting, you start directing. When you stop fighting everything, you start shaping the outcome. That's the secret. The Stoics live by. Stillness is not inaction. It's precision. So the next time your pride demands a response, choose presence instead. The next time someone drags you into chaos, choose composure instead. Because in restraint lies the highest form of freedom, the kind that no one can take, no matter how loud the world gets. You don't need to shout to prove your strength. You just need to stay still enough for the world to realize. Nothing moves a mind that has mastered itself. There is a battle that no one sees. No applause, no audience, no trophies. It doesn't happen in the boardroom or on social media. It happens in silence, inside you. It's the battle between who you are and who you know you could be. The Stoics called this confrontation the true test of character, because you can deceive the world, but you can't deceive yourself. The inner self is your ultimate judge. It knows when you've broken a promise. It remembers every compromise, every excuse, every time you looked away from what was right simply because it was hard. That's where the real victories and defeats occur. When you wake up in the morning and look at yourself in the mirror, before the day begins, before anyone praises or criticizes you, that quiet gaze tells the truth. It's not about how others see you. It's about whether you can meet your own eyes without flinching. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote nightly in his journal, not for others, but to face himself. He didn't need a critic. He had his conscience. He asked, "Did I live according to virtue today? Did I act with justice, courage, and self-control?" Because he understood integrity is not what you show in public. It's what you uphold in private. You can't buy peace of mind. You earn it, decision by decision, choice by choice. Every time you honor your word when no one is watching, you strengthen your soul. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you rebuild trust with yourself. And that trust is the foundation of real confidence, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that stands. The inner judge doesn't care about your image, your reputation, or your achievements. It only asks, did you stay true to your principles when it mattered? Most people lose this battle long before the world ever sees it. They hide behind distractions, chase approval, and mistake attention for respect. But deep down, they know when they've betrayed themselves, and that knowledge haunts them. The Stoic way is different. It's brutally honest. It asks you to face yourself fully, relentlessly, without excuse. To confront your weaknesses, not to shame yourself, but to strengthen what's left standing. And here's the paradox. That kind of honesty doesn't destroy you, it liberates you. Because once you stop lying to yourself, you stop fearing the truth. When you fail, the Stoic doesn't hide it. He owns it. He says, I fell short, but I will rise again. When he acts out of ego, he admits it, learns, and corrects. When he drifts, he returns. That's what self-mastery looks like. It's not perfection. It's the courage to face your reflection every single day and say, I'm still becoming. Ask yourself right now, have you kept the promises you made to yourself? Do your daily actions match the values you speak about? If the answer is no, don't despair. Return. Begin again. Because redemption doesn't happen in public. It happens in the quiet moments when you decide, enough. I will no longer betray myself. That's where dignity is born. That's where self-respect grows. And over time, those small, unseen victories accumulate until one day, the world begins to notice something different about you. You're calmer, more grounded, unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you made peace with the only judge that truly matters. So tonight, when the world goes silent, ask yourself one question. Have I lived today in alignment with who I claim to be? And if the answer is no, don't run. Just begin again, because the greatest battle of your life is not against the world. It's against the version of yourself that refuses to change. And when you finally conquer that, you've already won. Everyone says they want freedom. Freedom from stress, freedom from judgment, freedom from the chaos of life. But few ever realize what true freedom really means. Because real freedom doesn't begin when the world releases you. It begins when you take ownership of yourself. The Stoics knew this centuries ago. Epictetus was born a slave, yet he said something that still echoes across time. No man is free who is not master of himself. Think about that. He didn't have power, status, or luxury, but he had something more powerful than all of them. He had control over his mind. That's the kind of freedom the Stoics live for. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom from being ruled by impulse, distraction, and fear. Because let's be honest, how many times have we called something freedom when it was actually an escape? We say we're taking a break when we're really avoiding the work. We say we're doing what feels right when we're really chasing comfort. We say no one can tell me what to do, and then let our moods, cravings, and emotions dictate every choice we make. That's not freedom. That's just another kind of slavery to the self you refuse to discipline. The Stoic version of freedom looks different. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you are your own responsibility. When you wake up and do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you are free. When you stay calm instead of reacting, you are free. When you stop blaming the world for what's in your control, you are free. Freedom is not a gift someone gives you. It's a muscle you build every day through accountability. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, reminded himself every morning, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He knew time was the only true currency and ownership of that time, the only real form of wealth. That's why freedom and responsibility are inseparable. You cannot claim one without the other. When you say, "I am my own responsibility," you're declaring something sacred that you no longer wait for someone else to save you, motivate you, or fix you. You rise. You act. You take command of your thoughts, your habits, your reactions. And yes, it's hard, because real freedom demands discipline. It asks you to stop running from discomfort and start using it, to stop blaming circumstances and start mastering responses. The weak wait for permission. The free create their own path. So ask yourself, where in your life are you still a prisoner to fear, to doubt, to excuses? And what would happen if, today, you stopped waiting for things to change and simply took ownership? Because the truth is, no one's coming. No one's going to hand you peace, purpose, or focus. Those are things you build with your own two hands. The Stoic doesn't chase an easy life. He builds a strong one. He doesn't demand less hardship. He trains for more strength. And that's the paradox of true freedom. It's found not in escape, but in engagement. Not in avoiding responsibility, but in embracing it completely. So today, write it down. Say it out loud. I am my own responsibility. Let those words become your armor. Because when you own your life fully, your time, your energy, your reactions, the world can no longer control you. And that, my friend, is freedom. Strength isn't built in comfort. It's built in resistance. It's built in the moments when life doesn't go your way, when plans collapse, when people disappoint you, when everything feels heavier than it should. That's where discipline becomes your greatest weapon. Most people wait until adversity strikes to look for strength, but the Stoics trained for it every single day. They understood that difficulty is not an interruption to life, it is life. And the mind, like a muscle, grows only when it's tested. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." Lo spiza change. He was right. Every struggle you face is an invitation to train. Think about it when you lift weights. You're literally tearing your muscles so they can rebuild stronger. Adversity does the same thing to your character. It breaks what's weak and strengthens what's real. But here's the mistake most people make. They treat every obstacle as an enemy. They ask, "Why is this happening to me?" The Stoic asks, "What is this trying to teach me?" That shift changes everything. When something goes wrong, when someone betrays you, when plans fail, when the world tests your patience, you can either collapse or you can train. You can treat pain as punishment or as preparation. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's the mindset of strength. You don't wait for an easy path, you use the hard one to sharpen your edge. Every challenge becomes your gym. In day, on gym, in a very point, never. Every setback, a chance to practice. Patience, humility, endurance. That's discipline, not punishment, but preparation. Because discipline isn't about harshness or self-denial. It's about respect. Respect for your potential, your focus, your time. It's choosing to show up, even when no one's watching, even when it's inconvenient. That's what separates the strong from the scattered consistency through difficulty. You don't rise by accident, you rise by repetition. And here's the truth: adversity doesn't create weakness, it exposes it. When life squeezes you, what comes out is what was already inside. If you've been training your mind, you'll find calm. If you've been feeding excuses, you'll find panic. So train now before the storm. Practice stillness when the world is loud. Practice patience when things move slow. Practice gratitude when you feel lack. That's how you prepare for whatever life throws at you. Because discipline doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. The more you train your mind to endure discomfort, the less power discomfort has over you. You start realizing that pain doesn't destroy you, panic does. And when panic fades, strength rises. Epictetus, who knew suffering firsthand, taught this simple truth: circumstances don't make the man. So when adversity comes, and it will, don't ask for it to pass quickly. Ask to rise to meet it, because life will not always go your way. But your mind can always go the Stoic way: calm, disciplined, unwavering. So today, make this your training. Choose one hard thing and face it with presence. Not with frustration, not with fear, but with intention. Each time you do, you're building something unbreakable inside you, a kind of strength that no chaos can touch. And one day, when the storm finally comes, you'll realize something incredible. You don't need to fight to stay standing, because discipline has already built your foundation. That is the Stoic discipline of strength: quiet, patient, unshakable. There's a kind of transformation that doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post updates. It doesn't demand applause. It happens quietly, one disciplined day at a time. That's the kind of transformation the Stoics believed in, the silent kind. In a world obsessed with instant results, people chase quick wins and visible progress. But the Stoic knows that what grows slowly endures deeply. That the most powerful changes don't happen in the spotlight. They happen in the shadows of consistency. Every morning you rise early, when no one sees. Every time you choose patience instead of anger. Every small act of restraint, honesty, or effort. These are the invisible bricks that build your foundation. At first, it doesn't look like anything is changing. You'll question if your work even matters. You'll look at others racing ahead, and you'll wonder if you're falling behind. But what you're building isn't for show, it's for strength. Because transformation doesn't happen when people start noticing you. It happens long before that. Marcus Aurelius never sought recognition. He just lived the principles. Day after day, quietly, faithfully, and over time, his consistency became his power. Consistency, that's the real secret. Not intensity, not motivation, just the stubborn, calm decision to keep showing up, even when you don't feel like it. You don't need to move fast, you just need to move forward. The Stoics' pace is not frantic, it's deliberate. Like water carving, stone, slow but unstoppable. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live," and most of that waste comes from impatience, from abandoning what's working simply because we can't see results soon enough. But life doesn't reward speed, it rewards consistency. So when you feel unseen, unheard, unnoticed, keep going. The roots are growing where no one can see. And one day, when they break the surface, everyone will call it overnight success. But you'll know better. You'll know it was built from 1,000 quiet victories that no one applauded. That's the beauty of the Stoic way. You don't need validation to stay consistent. You don't need proof to keep faith in your process. You just need to remember that slow progress is still progress, and invisible effort is still shaping who you are becoming. Because real power is not in noise, it's in presence. The person who shows up quietly every day, who honors their word, who keeps building when no one's watching, that's the one who becomes unstoppable. Epictetus taught that we don't control the pace of outcomes, only the quality of effort. So while others measure themselves by quick results, the Stoic measures by integrity of action. Did I live my principles today? Did I give my best in what I could control? That's the true scoreboard. And here's the paradox: when you stop chasing results, results start finding you. When you stop performing for attention and start performing for your own growth, you become magnetic. Your calm becomes noticeable. Your energy shifts. And suddenly, people start to wonder what changed. The answer is simple. You stayed when others quit. So, if no one claps for you today, keep building anyway. If no one notices your growth, keep growing anyway. If progress feels invisible, trust the process anyway. Because consistency over time becomes character. And character over a lifetime becomes destiny. You don't need to announce your evolution. Just live it silently, steadily, powerfully. Because the loudest transformation is the one that doesn't make a sound. There comes a point in every journey when you realize you're not chasing perfection anymore. You're chasing peace. Perfection is a prison the ego builds. It whispers, "You're not enough yet. Try harder. Be more." And for years, many of us listen to that voice, polishing, proving, performing, only to end up exhausted and empty. But peace feels different. Peace is quiet confidence. It's not the absence of struggle, it's the absence of inner conflict. It's knowing that you've done what you could with what you had, and you can rest in that truth. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." He didn't mean perfection, he meant alignment. Live with integrity, not to impress, but to be at ease with your own soul. Because when you live out of alignment, when your words and actions don't match your values, you feel that tension inside. That's the price of betraying yourself. But when you start acting according to your principles, even imperfectly, the tension fades. That's peace. You stop reacting to every noise. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to fix the world before fixing your perspective. The modern world sells perfection as success, flawless lives, curated images, constant progress. But the Stoic knows better. They know peace is found in acceptance, not in control. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And that bravery is the courage to accept what you cannot change and to keep changing what you can. To let go of the fantasy of a perfect life and instead live a meaningful one. Ask yourself, what would my days feel like if I stopped trying to prove and started simply living? What would it look like if I treated myself not as a project to fix, but as a human being to understand? Because that's what Stoicism teaches, not how to eliminate emotion, but how to master your reaction to it. Not how to avoid mistakes, but how to grow from them. Not how to be untouchable, but how to be unshakable. Peace is not passive. It's powerful. It's standing in the middle of the storm and saying, "I will not let this take my center." You see, perfection is fragile. It cracks under pressure. Peace is flexible. It bends but never breaks. And that's the ultimate transformation. When you stop trying to be everything for everyone and start being true to yourself, life becomes lighter. You begin to realize that real strength doesn't roar. It breathes, it pauses, it forgives. So let go of the fantasy that you must always have it together. No one does, not Marcus, not Seneca, not you, not me. What they had and what you can have is direction, not perfection. Progress, not applause. Presence, not pressure. You will fall. You will fail. You will forget. But as long as you return again and again to your principles, you will never truly lose. Because the Stoic doesn't measure life by victories, but by returns. Each time you come back to your center, you win. Each time you choose peace over panic, patience over reaction, purpose over noise, you win again. And one day, you'll wake up and realize you no longer need the world to validate you. You've built something deeper, an unshakable peace that no chaos can steal. That's the final lesson. Not to become perfect, but to become whole, to live aligned, to live calm, to live free. Because the ultimate Stoic victory is not in conquering the world, but in conquering yourself and finally resting in peace, not in perfection. We spend so much of life waiting for the world to change, waiting for people to understand us, waiting for the right time, the right place. But here's the truth. The world doesn't change because we wish it to. It changes because we do. The Stoics knew this. They didn't waste energy hoping that others would act differently or that life would suddenly become easier. Instead, they turned inward and asked a much harder question. How can I live so that my actions themselves become the example? That's what real leadership is. Self-leadership. Before you can lead anyone, you must first lead yourself, your impulses, your reactions, your thoughts. Because no matter how chaotic the world becomes, peace doesn't begin outside you. It begins in the order you create within. Marcus Aurelius ruled over an empire that stretched across continents. Yet every night he reminded himself that true power wasn't in armies or politics. It was in self-command. He couldn't control the world, but he could control his judgment. He couldn't stop the storms of fate, but he could calm the storm within. And that's what you and I must learn too. Because peace isn't a gift you receive, it's a discipline you practice. Ask yourself, how do I react when life doesn't go my way? Do I lose my center when others lose theirs? Or do I return to my values? Every time you return, every time you choose integrity over reaction, patience over panic, calm over chaos, your roots grow deeper. And those roots, they hold you steady when the world begins to shake. That's how lasting peace is built, not through control, but through inner order. A mind governed by reason, a heart anchored in virtue. Seneca once said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The Stoic doesn't run from the noise of the world. He rises above it not by shouting louder, but by standing firmer. He becomes the calm in the storm, the steady hand amid chaos, the one who leads not with authority, but with example. Because leadership, in its truest form, you don't need to announce it. You don't need followers to prove it. You simply live in alignment so deeply that your presence alone inspires others to rise. And that's the paradox. When you stop trying to change the world and start mastering yourself, you become the change. Your peace becomes contagious. Your focus becomes influence. Your integrity becomes a quiet revolution. It doesn't matter who you are, parent, partner, worker, artist, every one of us is a leader in some way. Every decision we make ripples outward. And when those decisions come from inner peace instead of inner conflict, the ripple becomes harmony, not noise. So stop waiting for peace to appear. Build it. Stop demanding calm from the world. Create it. Stop looking for someone to lead you. Be the one who leads yourself. Because the world doesn't need louder voices. It needs calmer souls. It needs men and women who can hold their ground in silence, who can act with principle, who can return again and again to what truly matters. That's the Stoic way. To live so deeply rooted in your values that no storm can uproot you. To lead yourself quietly, consistently, until peace becomes not a destination. There are moments in life when words become more than just words. They become vows, quiet promises that shape who you are becoming. You don't need a crowd to witness them. You don't need applause to seal them. All you need is honesty. Because real transformation doesn't begin with motivation, it begins with commitment. So today, as we close this journey, I want to give you 5 Stoic vows, not as quotes to collect, but as principles to live by. 1. I am committed to my inner growth. That's the starting point, the declaration of responsibility. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to evolve. The world will try to pull you outward toward comparison, competition, distraction. But growth happens inward, in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you grow. Every time you learn instead of complain, you grow. And every time you return to your principles after falling short, you grow again. Growth is not a straight line, it's a lifelong return. 2. I refuse to be ruled by what I cannot control. He said places the past. This is the Stoic's armor. The moment you stop fighting the uncontrollable, peace begins. Traffic jams, opinions, delays, the behavior of others. These things belong to the outer world, not your inner one. Your task is to govern what's within your reach. Your attitude, your effort, your response. Epictetus said it best. It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. So when life tests you, pause and ask, is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, release. Freedom begins where control ends. 3. My actions will speak louder than my moods. Because feelings are temporary, but habits define you. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel brave. But if you act with integrity, even on the hard days, you build unshakable trust with yourself. The world doesn't respect what you say you'll do. It respects what you do when it's hardest. So let your consistency speak for you. Let your discipline be your proof. The Stoic doesn't chase inspiration. He creates it through action. 4. I release the outcome. I master the effort. We live in a world obsessed with results, numbers, likes. But the Stoic measures success differently. The win is in the effort, not the applause. Because you can't always control results, but you can always control your preparation, your patience, your presence. So stop asking, will this work? That question will set you free. When you master effort, life can no longer manipulate you. 5. I am my own responsibility. The final vow and the foundation of freedom. No one is coming to fix your habits. No one is coming to calm your mind. No one can live your life for you. You are your own guardian. Your time, your energy, your focus, they are sacred. The Stoic doesn't wait for direction. He gives himself one. He doesn't beg for peace. He builds it. He doesn't demand less chaos. He becomes calm within it. This is the essence of ownership, to stand tall and say, whatever happens, I will not abandon myself. So let these 5 principles be your compass. Say them, write them, live them. Not as mantras to feel good, but as commitments to become better. Because Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about strengthening direction. It's about mastering the one thing that no one else ever will you. And when you live by these vows, you won't need to prove anything to anyone. Your peace will speak, your discipline will shine, and your life quietly, steadily will become the message. And now, we arrive at the end. But really, this isn't the end, it's a return. Because every Stoic journey always circles back to the same question. Who am I choosing to be right now? You've walked through the noise, the doubt, the chaos. You've learned that real victory isn't loud. It's not measured by applause, followers, or achievements. It's measured by the stillness of your soul when the world demands noise. That is what "focus on you until you win" truly means. It doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean arrogance. It means devotion, the discipline of returning to yourself again and again until your peace becomes unbreakable. Because life will test you. It will pull at you from every direction with distractions, temptations, disappointments, and noise. You'll face moments when your faith shakes, when your patience wears thin, when your old habits whisper, "Come back to comfort." But remember, comfort is not peace. Peace is earned through self-control, through honesty, through the decision to keep showing up when no one notices. And here's the paradox. When you stop chasing validation, you start radiating strength. When you stop seeking control over the world, you find mastery over yourself. And when you stop shouting for attention, the world begins to listen. That is the quiet power of a Stoic life. You see, the world doesn't need more noise. It doesn't need more arguments, more outrage, or more endless opinions. It needs examples. It needs calm minds, steady hearts, and souls that can stand still in the storm. The Stoic doesn't preach, he practices. He doesn't wait for life to get easier, he trains for it to get harder. He doesn't chase happiness, he builds it through order, gratitude, and virtue. And slowly, without trying to impress anyone, he becomes something unshakable. A person who lives by principle, not pressure. A person who acts with purpose, not emotion. A person whose peace is louder than their pride. So when the world tests you next, and it will remember what you've learned here. Remember to pause before reacting, to choose reason before rage, to turn inward before blaming outward, to focus on effort, not outcome, to lead yourself first before trying to lead others. Because that's how you win, not all at once, not with fanfare. Every calm breath is a victory. Every act of integrity is a triumph. Every time you return to your values, even after falling, you rise higher than before. And that's the kind of win no one can take from you. So as we close this journey together, let this be your silent vow. I will focus on myself until I win not over others, but over my old self. I will build peace that no chaos can destroy. I will live so that when the noise fades and the lights dim, I can meet my own eyes and feel no regret. That's the Stoic victory, not perfection, not control, but clarity, courage, and calm. And when you live like that, when your mind becomes your ally and your peace becomes your home, you realize something profound. You've already won, quietly, steadily, completely. Pause. Slow tone. This is not the end. This is where the real practice begins. Every morning, every choice, focus on you until you win. And when you do, soft ambient tone, gentle fade in. When the noise fades and the lights go out, you are left with one thing: yourself. Not the mask you wear, not the roles you play, but the quiet truth of who you've become. So remember, you don't need to rush, you don't need to prove, you only need to return to what truly matters. Focus on yourself, grow in silence. And when the world asks how you did it, just smile, because your peace will speak louder than words. Music fades, black screen, minimalist text appears. Focus on you until you win. Modern Stoic Notes. Win quietly.